I bet you've seen this picture. Bernie's face looking like hamburger meat. And this is perhaps the best example of business ingenuity this man always had.
I was getting out of a car and people come and that was it. So I didn't think, because I was on the ground unconscious. And then they grabbed my wife and took things from her. These are things that happen in a safe country. It happened in England. And I saw a photograph and I thought, you should be able to make something. And I told the owners of the company, I said, you should do this and see what people will do for a Hublot. I said, we could never do that. I said, well, why did you try it? And they did, and it caught on very well for them. Cost them nothing. I got better, so everything was fine.
Now, if anyone can create a commercial opportunity out of being kicked in the head, it's this billionaire hustler.
Turning a brutal mugging into a marketing masterpiece. Free publicity, worldwide sympathy, and he probably got a new watch out of this thing as well. And, you know, this extended to absolutely everything, like doing bizarre things on track.
We were in Dallas doing the first time the Grand Prix there. And in the practice, we realized that the new asphalt there got so hot that it just broke up. So I went to Bernie and I said, we cannot race here. He said, why? Because of the marbles. We're all gonna crash. You have to race. I said, I will not race. And the others will not race as well. So you have to fix it. Then he looked at me, then he said, okay, I'll fix it. And then suddenly big trucks came with ice cubes. And we drivers looked at this and we couldn't believe it. So he put ice cubes over the circuit. So I went to Ben and said, are you nuts? What do you think this will do? No, you said it's too hot. I cool it down with ice cubes. And then I thought, he's mad.
What do we make of all this, Bernie? What's happening?
With what?
As a Formula One fan, I always wanted to make a video about Bernie Ecclestone. Watching his interviews in the paddock for years, I saw so many interviewers confused, baffled by his short, funny, quirky responses and his elusive personality. I wanted to talk about what he was really about, what he was really like, what he really cared about in his life. And hopefully this video explores that and gives you that idea.
It's a little louder than we thought. So if we can just get it up a little bit more than that, I wish I could get it up, but anyway, then it would be all right, you know, if I could do that.
I don't really remember when I sort of started to think about business. But probably because I didn't even know what business was. But I used to carry out a couple of paper rounds before I went to school. When I got off the train, just by the side of the station was a little bakery. They used to sell bread, obviously, and buns and things like that. This is when these things were very difficult to find. And I'd buy all the buns and cakes or whatever they had there, put them in the suitcase, which I had with me all the time to carry these, take them to school, and during the break, I used to sell these.
He's like a Howard Hughes of motor racing, you know, where everything's got to be immaculate, and he's like he goes over the top sometimes.
He is a straightforward guy with his own language. So if you don't know him, you say, what is he telling me now? He's direct, he's strong, sometimes for people who don't know what he's talking about, confusing, looking always 2 steps ahead, and some people cannot follow him. So he says something, and says, what the hell is he doing? 2 steps later, they understand why he did it. You know, this kind of person, but very straightforward, he's not negative.
These white Formula One cars you see, well, that's Brabham, a name that used to be synonymous with speed, innovation, and for a brief moment, dominance. That's not exactly what they look like in early 1970s, though.
I bought Brabham for £100,000, which today doesn't sound like it, but those days was a lot of money. It was a bit untidy. Nobody quite knew where everything was, and nobody was particularly doing one job. It was all a bit of a muddle, generally. The drawing office was a muddle. Everything was upside down. So I thought the best thing to do is let's get things that we don't need thrown out and tidy up everything in general.
The team was on the brink of financial collapse, and cars, well, they were in faded British racing green with a workshop resembling a chaotic jumble. This was Brabham Bernie Ecclestone bought, and this deal was a masterclass of Ecclestone's hard-nosed negotiation tactics.
You've got to get people to trust you.
Ron Tarnack, Brabham's designer and then owner, he was heartbroken after Jack Brabham's departure from the team and overwhelmed by the whole business side, and he wanted to sell. And initially Bernie, he proposed a partnership in 1970 in Monaco, but Tarnack, being an engineer and designer, he didn't want to manage the team and he wanted completely out. So months later, Bernie came back offering to buy the whole thing, and at that time Brabham was even in a worse financial shape, and Bernie agreed to pay the value of team's asset. But you gotta understand, Tarnack, he was no businessman. His deal was the technical side and not commercial side of the business. He carefully calculated how much cars, engines, equipment, and contracts are worth and came up with the number £130,000. And he is also staying as a designer for the next 3 years. He sends this number to Bernie and he doesn't hear back and assumes the deal is done. But we are talking Bernie Ecclestone, who sold used cars that were clocked as hell before Tarnack was even born. And so just before they were about to sign, with no motion, Bernie throws out a number, £100,000. Take it or leave it. And with a bare handshake, Bernie pockets 2 Formula One cars, 5 engines, a team of talented, if disorganized mechanics, and a lucrative sponsorship deal for a fraction what it was really worth. And quite quickly after, Ecclestone pushes Tarnack out and stops paying him, forcing him to sell his small amount of shares for nothing.
When I came back from my holiday, my drawing board space was gone and the business was being run without me. Eventually, the accountants who normally gave me a check, they were told not to give me a check anymore.
He strategically outmaneuvered Tarnack to gain full control of the Brabham team.
So I think that's what's more important. If you do a deal with somebody and you realize you've made a mistake, don't complain. Get on with it.
As head of the sport, you were directly in charge of all new business across all Formula One revenue streams. Formula One had no chief marketing officer, no communications head. How do you view delegation?
I think delegation, is if you're prepared to accept second best. No, I'm a little bit hands-on, day and night, so I like to know what's going on.
But perhaps the best story that shows Bernie's approach to life was how he got married.
When I got married to Slavica was in the register office, and we realized, I was told we needed a witness early on. We need a witness. So, okay, so I took the cleaner that we had at the time, appeared at the register office, and suddenly I found out, because I hadn't spoken to the cleaner before, that she didn't speak English. So the registrar thought this wasn't really the right way to go and said, well, I'm sorry, but we can't do this. So I said, well, hang on now, I'll find somebody. So I rang Max Mosley. I said, Max, is your secretary busy for a minute? And he said, I don't know, what do you want? I said, could you pop to the registrar office? Because I'm getting married and I need a witness. If you can spare her for half an hour or something. So she duly arrived and she was the witness. No photographers, no photographs in or out, no things thrown up in the air and all that nonsense. So I signed the forms, whatever it was, and that was it. I shall have to retire one day for sure.
Looking forward to it, or?
Well, nobody looks forward to dying.
Bernie Ecclestone says he is prepared to stay in his role as the chief executive of Formula One, following Liberty Media, which belongs to John Malone, the news that it's bought the company that has a controlling stake in Formula One. The company that has that stake is CVC, and now Liberty Media has bought a controlling stake for $4.4 billion. Ecclestone is set to stay for now, but there's a new chairman, Chase Carey.
We have somebody that knows what they're doing for a change.
I'm just here learning from Bernie.
I think what they really thought in the end, the bottom line was simple. Here we've got an 80-year-old guy that's been running this company for 40 years. Imagine us, proper American business people, if we had the company, what we could do.
Is there something big going down in Formula One ownership?
I don't think so. A lot of conversations, good for the press. You know, if they've got nothing else to write about, this is all good.
And then one day I had a call from then Milchik, the executive of the company, saying, could we meet up on Monday? I said, sure. What time? What time? 10 o'clock? I said, yeah, fine. So I appeared, smartly dressed with a tie as well. I thought, you know, make a good appearance in case they want me to hang on. So I'll be looking for a job, so let's see what happens. Chase was a bit late. He said, we bought the company. I said, I know. I knew because I had all the shares that they bought. So, yeah, I know. And he said, and I'll do your job. So I said, well, you bought the car, you might as well drive it. It's really like a marriage, really. Easier to get in, difficult to get out. So I got out. So that was the end of Formula One for me. I mean, I think all business people that are successful really and truly are lucky. People say, he's a genius doing this and he's a genius doing whatever. But we're lucky, that's all. It's a case of first being in the right place at the right time, and when you see the opportunity, taking it. Not you see so many people that I could have done that. That was my idea, I could have done it. And they didn't do it. And it's the guys that actually do it are the ones that get on. I can honestly say I've never planned anything. I've seen opportunities, and if I think they're worth it, I take them and try and make them work. Sometimes they work well, and sometimes I wish I hadn't have jumped in. But overall, I've been lucky.
Bernie Ecclestone, he was not a godfather of Formula One. He was Formula One. He built the thing. He took it from some rich guys and a bunch of fancy cars running around the track and turned it into $1 billion behemoth, an empire. And in the end, it was all about power and control.
I get a little bit upset when people say I'm anti-Semitic or against black people or anything. It's completely, utterly wrong.
He believes in a form of dictatorship because he always believed that no one else will agree. He'll have to pull them together and it'll be his way or no way.
Ecclestone's ruthlessness was not in muscle. It was money and deals. And he respected muscle too. And that is, ladies and gentlemen, Bernie Ecclestone.